There's a point that you reach when once you hit an awakened perspective where you see everything around you. You see all the social mess going on, all the political mess, all of our posturing and grandstanding, and just all the dumb crap that we do in society. And you go, so what? Like, some person is talking about, their the views of their favorite artist. And you're like, well, they're human. Of course they have opinions. Of course they have ideas that don't necessarily line up with yours. So what? Like, why do you care so much? And honestly, I've always had this sort of perspective on stuff. Honestly, because it's just one of those things I've never cared about. I've never cared about uh the ins and outs of some artist's life or some celebrity gossip or some shit like that. I've never cared. Never cared about sports. Never cared about politics. It's just, I don't care. But ever since I hit this perspective, it's been like triple that. Where I see people doing the same dumb shit over and over and over again. And they just do it. Sorry, I'm out in my workshop just playing around with some stuff. Actually, I'm gonna go take a walk outside. It's nice out. So they just do stuff. And I look at it and I'm like, why the fuck do you care? Why do you do this? Why do you keep doing stupid shit? And then wondering why you're suffering. Like, why do we do this? And I'm not saying they, as if I don't do stupid shit. I do stupid shit too. We all do. But I have to wonder sometimes, I'm like, why do we do this? And the scary part is, most of us don't even see the stupid shit that we do. We don't even see this stuff. 9 times out of 10. We follow social standards and all of these norms that we don't even think about why we're doing what we're doing. We don't even think about the choices that we make as we're making them or before we're making them. We just make these stupid choices and then balk and groan because our lives are shit. Because we've done stupid stuff down the line and made unconscious choices, and we didn't even realize we were making them. And then we wonder why our lives don't feel satisfying. Why we feel a general sense of anxiety in our society. Is because we are completely unconscious of our emotions and our choices. And the more that we become conscious of our emotions, our choices, our thoughts, all of that, the more the reality of our lives comes into focus. So, and what happens when that comes into focus? You start making smarter choices. You start making more thought out choices. You become aware of the choices you're about to make before you make them. You become aware of the potential relationships you're going to get into before you get into them. And you know why you're making your choices. Say, for example, you've been single for a long time and you're about to get involved with someone that you know is not right for you. But yet you do it anyway. You all know what I'm talking about. Because we've all been there. We make these choices without thinking them. Oh, we know we're making a bad choice, but we don't think about it. We just make the choice and we go do it because it was fun in the moment. That's how our society does. It's full of moments like this, where we are consistently making unconscious choices. That's really what it comes down to. It's unconscious thoughts and unconscious choices. So now that I am aware of that, I said I've always had moments like that. But now that I've hit that point that spiritual people call the awakening, self-realization for psychology, whatever you want to call it, enlightenment if you want to call it that. Ever since I hit that point, it's been that general sense of, why the fuck are we doing this, has been amplified tenfold. To the point of being funny, actually. Because I'll go to bars and stuff like that, and I'll just watch people. And I will watch their behavior and just observe. And you see the same people doing the same things. Just watching their choices, watching them make their choices. And it's really interesting because you start to see details of their lives that they don't even notice. They don't notice that they are projecting outwards, I should say. They may notice it, but a lot of times they don't. And it's really fascinating to watch. But I get these moments where I'm like, okay, a good example. You take, right now we're dealing with several looming crises to our species, existential crises to our species at the same time. Okay, we're dealing with climate change, we're dealing with a mental health shift that is absolutely devastating. We're dealing with potential world wars. Like, there are many things going on right now that we are dealing with here in the 2020s, if anybody's listening to this far in the future. And yet, despite that, we are actively developing the technology to make it so. We are actively pushing ourselves towards the things that we know are a bad idea. Because, yes, they do have some good. But, I mean, think about that for a second. We've been going on about robots taking over the world and doing some kind of robot apocalypse for years. And yet we're developing artificial intelligence that eventually very well may allow that sort of thing to happen. Come on, guys. Like, if there are aliens watching us, this is exactly why they're not contacting us. I mean, would you contact someone that stupid? That doesn't even listen when you tell them, hey, you're kind of going down a bad path here. And yet, that's exactly what we've been doing. We know we're going down a bad path, and we're doing it anyway. Because fuck it. We're humans, damn it. We don't crash into the wall, we crash through it. And we do have a tendency to do that. And I don't doubt that we will do it again. Okay? I really don't. We are powerful survivors. And very, very innovative. But damn, man. Like, our species is hurtling towards a wall at 200 miles an hour. And we're excited for it. We are excited for it. We are a school bus full, or a short bus, I should say. We are a short bus full of chimpanzees blazing down the highway at 100 miles an hour towards a sharp curve and a steep drop off below that. We know it's coming. We don't care because we're going to try to slam on the brakes and get as close to the edge as possible. That's how we do it. Because that is what's most fun. And all the ones in the bus, oh, they're cheering it on, except for one guy in the back. One guy in the back is like, hey, this is a really stupid idea. And the rest of them are like, shut up, Phil. I don't know where Phil came from. Shut up, Phil. And Phil's like, hey, don't you see the sharp cliff coming up? We have to slow down so we can turn. That is a hairpin turn up there. Shut up, Phil. We got this. Oh, it's a silly analogy, but oh my God, is it apt. But yeah, that's us. That is us. Because humans. That's how we've always done it. That is what's gotten us to the top. But there's going to be a point where that's not going to work. And whether or not it's coming soon, I don't know. Personal opinion says yes. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know. Based on what I'm observing of humanity, what admittedly little I understand about human psychology and behavioral psychology, and what I see in the big picture in society on what areas I can get information on, which is admittedly small. But observing in the ways that humans act with each other and interact with each other, I would say we're headed for a rocky road. We're headed for that cliff. We are definitely headed for that cliff. But again, this is my opinion. And this is also the general feeling of society right now. I was going to take a walk down the street, but my cat decided to follow me. And I don't want her walking all over the place, because she will follow me wherever I go. But that is us. And if you look at the general feeling of anxiety in society right now, I think we know it. We know that cliff is coming. So what do we do? How do we save ourselves? How do we put on that brake in order to stop ourselves from going over that cliff? How do we do it? We have to know ourselves. We have to be conscious of our thoughts, of our choices, of our emotions. We have to get a hold of that instinct. And that starts with knowing yourself. That's where it starts. We have to get a hold of it. We have to. Otherwise, we are going to go over that cliff. And we may go over it anyway. We've gone over several cliffs before. It won't be the first. But the ones that are going to make it through, or should I say, the ones that are going to make it through well, we have to get to know ourselves. We have to be in control of ourselves, of our emotions, of our thoughts. We have to be conscious of them. Well, how do I become more conscious of them? I'll tell you how. All of the shit that you're running from, the repressed emotions, the feelings that you know you don't want to feel, and you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The feelings that you don't want to feel, you have to let yourself feel them. And you have to let yourself feel them hard, in their full intensity. That is how you get through them. Because once you have allowed yourself to feel them and resolve the problem, if it is something that can be resolved. If it cannot, accept it and move on. But if you can resolve the problem, yes, resolve it. But when you allow yourself to feel those emotions, to feel that thing that you've been running away from, that you just don't want to feel because it hurts too much. When you allow yourself to feel that and let it go, you will begin to become conscious of your thoughts, of yourself. You will begin to know who you are. Because let me tell you something, who you are is not what you do. It's not your name. It's not, I'm a parent to my children. It's not, and this one gets me all the time. It drives me absolutely fucking bonkers. It's not, I'm a child of God. Those are all identities. beliefs, roles that you have grafted who you are onto, but it is not who you are. You are the awareness of your experience, the consciousness itself. That is who you are. You are the observer. You are the person who feels. You are the person who sees. You are the seer. That is who you are. You are life. You just are. And when you can allow yourself to just be, that's it. That is it. You don't know the meaning to life, universe, and everything? That's it. Just be. Just be. This is how we solve it. Or at least make a huge dent in it. It's not going to bring about world peace. Okay? Because you can have people that are fully aware of their conscious thoughts and still do fucked up shit. You can be enlightened and be evil. I'm sorry to say. But there will be far more of us who will do the right thing and put the right people in the right spots of leadership if we know ourselves. If we know who we truly are, if we are conscious of our emotions, conscious of our choices, conscious of our thoughts. Is it going to bring about world peace? No. But it'll make it a hell of a lot more peaceful than it already is. And a hell of a lot more smarter. More smarter, yeah. A hell of a lot smarter. One of those days, man. One of those days. But this is what we need to do to solve it. And right now, the way our society is set up, our institutions worldwide, they will not let us do this. They're not going to let that happen. And I'm talking about society as, imagine society as one person. Because mentally speaking, psychologically speaking, it is. The societies reflect the people, the mindset of the people, wherever you go. Western society and Western mindset line up. The ways we think and the way society moves, it lines up. So think of society as a collective mind, because that's essentially what it is. I think the term is egregore, if I recall correctly. A system of thought that arises from the collective, and it kind of becomes its own thing. I would have to get back on that, but I think it's called an egregore in esoteric concepts. But that's exactly what it is. Okay? All of your gods, various gods of various religions, that's what they are. They are societal egregores. And it is the only aspect in which they are real. It is the only side of which I will admit that they have real world effects. So in that aspect, yes. But we have to be conscious of these things. I'm going to come back to how to solve this stuff. We have to be conscious of it. Because if we are not, it's just going to keep growing. It's going to keep growing, and it's going to keep getting crazier. This is why we are in such a mental health crisis right now. You want to know what's causing the mental health pandemic? I'll tell you. That general sense of anxiety and people are going crazy and the world's going insane. The world is headed to hell in a handbasket. I'll tell you why it's happening. One, it's a part of our natural cycle. Okay, I think they say every 80 years or so, there's a big societal shift. But it's been happening, it's been happening far stronger in the last 2 decades. Really, it goes even further back than that. But the last 2 decades have been like fuel on a fire for it. And that has started with, one, the Industrial Revolution is what really kicked it off at first. But so much recently is the internet age. Specifically, the proliferation of smartphones. So, before smartphones, the internet was accessible, yes. But it wasn't easily accessible. It was at schools and libraries and stuff like that. But that's about it. You had to go to a specialized place, or you had to pay to have it within your house. You had to pay extra to have it within your house. So, even though the information was accessible, it wasn't as easily accessible, and it wasn't as well compiled as it is today. Fast forward to 2007, 2008. Now everything is smartphones. Even your most basic phone is a computer. And really, phones were having internet capabilities before that. But the smartphone allowed it to be much easier to watch videos, to see what you were doing, to interact with that information. And so smartphones were simultaneously the greatest invention for the passing on of information that we've seen so far. And yet also, the dark side is that we have been flooded with information. And it's like before there was, let's take water for example. It's like before the internet age, there was water available, but it was hard to know. It was relatively scarce. And it was important. And we took that water in. We drank that water. And we prized that water because it was so scarce. Well, now, it's like a flood. There's water everywhere. And none of it is drinkable. Or very little of it is drinkable. We got to scoop it out a bucket at a time and purify it before we can even think of drinking it. There's water everywhere, but it's poisonous. And it's rushing so fast that we could get swept up in it. And that is the information age. That is what happened when smartphones came on the scene. And so what happened is, one of the things that happens when, psychologically speaking, when a person really gets to know themselves, starts getting to know themselves, starts doing what they call shadow work, what happens is the The human mind starts to go through this phase of negativity where it's pulling up all of this dark mess that it didn't know it was hiding. This is what the brain does. Spiritualists call it the dark night of the soul. I think Jung called it that too, I'm not sure. But it's called the dark night of the soul. You start pulling up all of this mess. This is what humanity as a whole is going through right now. It's getting to know itself because it's been flooded with so much information. All of the dark shit that it was hiding in its history, all of the cultures are blending together. We are starting to become almost like a hive mind as far as our collective society goes. Different, yes, but accepted. There will be different aspects and cultures still, always. But they will become more integrated. And that is what we are becoming. We are becoming integrated at an alarming rate. And when the brain is going through its integration process, it hurts. It hurts. When you are integrating into yourself, you go through the dark night of the soul. You go through the shadow work. You start pulling up all of this shit that is mucking you up. And the key is to let it go. Some people never get out of it. Many people never get out of it. This is why the 30s suck. Because you start to realize all the bullshit you've been fed. Especially for our recent generations. Okay? You start to realize that all of this societal bullshit is not necessary. And you start to get to a point where you're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to figure out who I am, and I'm going to figure my shit out. And you start to do it. This is why the 30s suck. And that's shifting lower now with the millennials or the Gen Zers. It's in the 20s now for them. It's starting to be in the 20s. They're waking up earlier. They're going through this dark night of the soul much earlier than millennials and Gen Xers did. Okay? They're having their midlife crises, because that's exactly what it is, in their 20s. This is how you get through it. You have to allow yourself to know yourself. You cannot run from it anymore. Stop running. This is how you solve it. Learn to meditate. Learn to look within yourself. If you need religion to help you do that, that's fine. That's what it's for. That's exactly what it's for. Use it. That's fine. I don't believe in any gods whatsoever. But I hold the various religions in very high respect once I understood what they were trying to do. Underneath all of the magical bullshit and dogma and rules and all of that shit, underneath all of that, at their cores, they are trying to connect you with your inner self. That's how they work. They were an early and primitive form of psychology, but it's one that we have evolved with. Yes, I just said religion or some sort of spirituality, inward looking, is essential to our mental health. Yes, I did. And I am 100% an atheist. But religions are still important. Yes, I did say that. I know some of my atheist followers are going to disagree. That's okay. And some of my religious followers are going to say, oh, yay, yay. It doesn't mean I think your God is real. It's not. But that's not what matters. What matters is it's real to you. And we are creators of our perceptive realities. So if it's real to you, it's real to you. That's okay. But don't let it control you. Use it. It is a tool. It is a tool to seek within yourself and connect with the sensation of simply being in the present. That's what it's there for. To bring you to the present moment, to connect with that sensation that you call God. That sensation that you call spirit, that feeling deep down in your heart, that joyous, rapturous feeling is when you are at a moment where you are completely present. Your mind is not in the past, it's not in the future. It's just focused on one thing, being there in the moment. Now, sometimes we use a specific focus to be in the moment. When we're praying or something, that's using it as a focus to be in the moment. It's a meditation. This is how they work. This is how religion works. This is how spirituality works. It's not magic. It's not supernatural. It is 100% natural. It is an evolutionary adaptation for our sentience, our sapience, because we are aware, temporally aware. We are aware of our finite nature. We are aware of our own mortality. Most animals are not. And they don't think thoughts like that. But we are. And our biggest fear is death. Because our second biggest fear is of the unknown. And that's because we grew up as prey animals. We evolved as prey animals. And so we're scared of the tiger that may jump out of the woods. And so we can fight. We can fight it. We can run. We can freeze. We can fawn over it. And I'm going to add a new one to the list. We can ignore it. Because that is also a fear response. It's similar to freeze, but not quite. Because you're not stopping what you're doing. You're just ignoring it. So we're going to add a new response on the fear thing. A new action on the fear response. Ignore. Procrastinate. Put it off until the fear becomes so great that we get it done. Or the fear becomes so great that we finally change our ways. When we fuck up one too many times and we finally go, that's probably not going to work. That's where we go. That's what we do all the time. And this is how to fix it. This is calling it out for what it is and how to fix it. We have to know ourselves. So how do we fix it? How do we fix it? If you need to use religion, use it. If you need to use psychology, learn it. Learn how the human mind works. Learn why you do what you do. Understand why you do what you do. It starts with you. It starts with you, my listeners. Each one of you learns how to understand themselves and then passes that knowledge on to someone else. And it's going to be hard because people don't listen. They don't want to see. They don't want to see themselves. And this is why our society is the way that it is. Because we fight learning, especially about ourselves. Especially if it's going to reveal some secret about ourselves, about our inner psyche that we didn't want to know. And not everybody is like this, mind you. Let me be very clear about that. But the majority are. The majority are. We all, almost all of us, have something that we're still running from, that we don't want to acknowledge is a problem, or something we've got unacknowledged or unprocessed. We know it's there. We know it's there. But we don't want to, we're not quite ready to deal with that memory. We don't quite want to revisit that pain just yet. It still hurts. It still stings. We're scared of it. We don't want to revisit that memory. We don't want to solve that problem because we're scared of it. Either that or we're too greedy and it being a problem is benefiting us in some way. There is that too. There is greed as well. We're scared of what someone else might think if we were to seek help about this thing. We're scared of what the tribe thinks. We're scared of what people who aren't in the tribe think. We're scared of what that girl in the bar over there will think of me if I pick my nose in public. Like, this is the shit that I'm looking at, and I'm like, dude, it's obvious your butt itches, scratch it. Why are you making yourself suffer there? This is the kind of shit you see when you observe people. And this is the kind of shit that makes me go, why are we like this? Humans are weird, man. I swear, humans are so weird. Like, our societies are so weird, and we get so wrapped up in them. Like, I've always felt like a bit of an outsider because I see things this way. In fact, if you want a very good movie representation of the way I see things, look up the movie A Million Ways to Die in the West. I mean, it's a comedy movie. It's funny. This is all right. It wasn't the greatest as for a movie goes, but it was one that made me laugh a lot because that is very close to the perspective that I have on things. And I'm just like, why do you people do stupid shit like this? And they keep doing it. Like, you can tell them, hey, that's not a good idea. And they go do it anyway. You can specifically lay out, hey, if you do this, this is going to be the consequence. And then they go do it anyway. And then get mad because they received the damn consequence that you told them they were going to get. This is what we do, man. All because they're not even thinking of it. Or they're acting within their emotions. For some reason, the neighborhood kittens are following me, and it's so cute. Hi. I'm not gonna pet you because then I'm gonna have to take you home, and I don't want to do that. I don't need another cat. I'm sorry. I hope these things don't follow me home. Though knowing my cat, she'll probably run them off. I swear, this cat is like all up on me. It's so cute. You know what? I'm going to end it here because I've been totally distracted by kittens. And there's no coming back from that. So, yeah, you guys have a good night.